professor, physician, epidemiologist. I am Dr. Sri Banerjee. Hello, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University. And I wanted to go over a unique topic that I usually don't talk about, but I think it's really important to cover, especially when we're thinking about social determinants of health. As it pertains to social determinants of health, I think the first place that really needs a hard look is how the hiring process takes place and human resources. And it's really important to be using an inclusive approach, a DEI approach in having inclusive hiring process, and making sure that you are having everybody that should be involved part of it. Because if that doesn't take place, then employee retention starts to go down. So this research looked at why rejected internal candidates end up quitting. And one of the things that they saw was that, in most cases, internal job applicants end up quitting nearly 2 times as likely to leave the organizations compared to those who were either hired for an internal job or had not applied for a new job at all. So the lost productivity and talent combined with the cost of finding replacements for these employees is often substantial. So it makes sense from an employer perspective or anything. And having experienced this, it's quite disheartening. And I guess it's important to ensure that an inclusive practices and processes take place. You also, rarely have to pay the premium typically required to lure in external candidates. So, like internal candidates signals to other employees that they too have a future in the organization. And a lot of times, even maybe if there's an internal candidate that's already been identified, many times, you know, you want to make sure to provide ample opportunity for others. Or else, what happens is rejection can also engender feelings of envy toward the workers who beat them out for the job, or lead employees to engage in counterproductive work behaviors, such as stealing from their companies. So it's something that leads to negative attitudinal effects. So I think it really makes sense to, at the very least, to be able to interview the candidates. In fact, research indicates that rejected internal candidates are nearly 2 times as likely to leave the organizations compared to those who are either hired for an internal job or and I already read this. So this is something that is really important. In this actual research, what they did is they looked at 9,000 rejection experiences of employees at a Fortune 100 company over a 5-year period. And the key insight that they gained from all of that is that because they want a new job right now, they also apply to learn what opportunities might be available to them in the future. So if an employee is rejected today, they're more likely to stick around if they feel they'll have good chance to advance tomorrow. So it's really important to have mobility. Now, interviewing. So a lot of times what happens is internal candidates get rejected after interviewing with the hiring manager, but they were half as likely to exit as those that were rejected earlier in the process. So, for instance, if individuals applied for a job and they never even got an interview, and they actually work for the company, then this really hits home hard for the person. It's not something that is ideal, and I think when you are providing and applying diversity and equity and inclusive principles, you want to really make sure that the process that you're using to try to find the right candidate is in fact properly vetted. So what happens, employees who do not advance to the interview stage tend to feel that their application was not even given serious consideration and rarely receive concrete feedback about how to improve their chances of success in the future. So you might be given some sort of facade, some sort of if you were to ask a explanation, sometimes you might be given something that doesn't quite make sense, and so a lot of times the explanations are not necessarily foolproof, and so a company would benefit from actually going ahead and interviewing, because what happens is, having someone from HR interview a candidate is, that's not a substitute. And what at least happens is it allows for some of these ideas from multiple candidates to be considered when moving forward. So, and it also really provides, a positive upward social comparison process. Um, and and this is from peer-reviewed articles that have been published. And so rejected internal candidates who were more similar to the winning candidate were much more likely to stick around following a rejection. So it's really important to select somebody that has had some interaction as well. And so overall, here's the deal. And this is the this is from research from a Fortune 100 company, but I think this really applies to every sector. It's multi-sectoral. If you're refusing to even consider at the door some of the most eligible and some of the most loyal customers and employees then what ends up happening is overall productivity goes down, because this sort of message resonates throughout the organization. And it's not very encouraging for others witnessing this either. And so when you're looking to create a more inclusive organization, then you want to make sure that all voices are present at the table, and you do make sure that the processes are foolproof. And in fact, if there's places where there needs to be adjustments made, then there can be also adjustments made. So it's an important process, and I think DEI principles really need to start at the level of human resources, and then also the culture needs to be propagated throughout an organization. So this research says one thing. Bottom line is this: if you are an internal candidate, and if you did not get interviewed, um, more than likely, this was something. You're an internal candidate, so everybody knows you. So more than likely, this probably was an intentional oversight. But of course, nobody would ever necessarily say something like that. So it's always important, really, to have the five domains in the social determinants of health to be considered when you're considering a person for a job hire. Thank you for listening.